Hello, this is Michael from Bentech Software Technical Support. Making this quick video to show you how to first incorporate bar into the Dragon Cam software, and then to create a simple project with that bar according to a PDF given to me from a customer. First of all, in the Dragon Cam software, you'll simply select the machine library and select your machine name, and then check the checkbox that allows for flat bar, and then click Save. That will open that capability in your tube library, which would really be called a material library at this point, and it'll give you the option to create bar. I have one here that I created. Basically, you just need to, when you're adding a new material, select this option for instituting bar. You'd put in the overall width of the bar and the the thickness of the bar, and then the width of the bar, like that. I'll go ahead and just call this 2-inch bar, 0.125 wall, and then select inches. You'll need to, obviously input your machine settings and things like that. Luckily, I already have this information here for the 2-inch bar. I've already put into the software. Now, when it comes to lead-ins and lead-outs on bar, obviously it's just a flat bar, and we're not rotating the material at all during cutting, so any lead in or lead out is going to be done off the edge of the bar, especially since in this PDF that I have, these holes for creating bar grates will be, the plasma torch would fire off the edge of the tubing, or off the edge of the material, excuse me. So we may not want lead-ins and lead-outs. You may just need a dwell time of 4 to 5 tenths of a second. Let me see here. I'm going to set this to none and save it as is. Now, with that material, we can make straight parts only, and the software has not really caught up with, with what our machine can do, in the way that you won't be able to make internal holes along bar, which, lucky for us, we're not making internal holes. They're basically cutouts on the edge. So first thing I'm going to do is indicate the overall length, which is 22 3/8. That'll give us our bar the way we want it. And then, as you can see in the holes tab, if you add a hole, indicate a width, it looks like our width is 0.2813. The distance from the end, 3.1875. It's consistently red here, and it won't allow you to create that hole. So I'm not sure what it is. I'm sure our development is working on making this applicable in our software, but for now, we'll just take this flat bar to edit flat. We'll have the whole 22 3/8 inch length, and we can then institute our cutouts. So first one I know from start of material to center of the cutout is 3.1875, excuse me. So I'm going to go to create geometry and create a couple of points from the origin, or in this case, from the top of the origin here. You can also use these, they've instituted these points here that you can use as a reference to work off of. So I'm going to go X value 3.1875 from here and click to apply, and then I'm going to every other center of the cutout is 4 inches from there, so I'm going to just kind of make a string of these points across the material. And then in the PDF here it says that the width of these cutouts is 0.2813 and the depth of these cutouts is 0.1875. So in order to do that, I'm just going to use 1 here, and we can copy the arc we're going to make, but just use half of, I got a calculator here, half of 0.2813 is 0.14065. I'll make a point there, and then I'll also add a negative sign to that value and make a point there. So I have 2 points to give us that 0.2813 distance, and then I'm also going to zero this X out, use a negative Y value of 0.1875 to create a point down here. So the reason I'm creating these points is so that I can use our arc feature. We have an arc 3 points option, which I love. It's one of my favorites. It doesn't like that. Let me see here. The depth on that being 1.875 doesn't quite make sense. Let me think here. So you can't enlarge that. What you can do is edit geometry, we'll move, and we'll use a mirror option. We'll mirror that. I need a line to mirror it across. Mirror 2 points. Alright. I'm actually going to bring this down the additional distance because it wants to make a half a circle, which obviously ours is much more pronounced and should go down to 0.1875. So let me just move that, the difference in distance, which 0.14065, 0.1875 minus 0.14065 is a negative 0.04685. There's a lot of math involved here, but I'm sorry, that doesn't really reach out all the way either. Click Control Z. What I'm going to do is create a point along this line and just move it to this point. Point along an entity midpoint. Boom. Edit. Just move using a window option, or excuse me, cursor select. Let's leave this at 0. Just delete the old one. That'll have to do. Now, I can really just create straight lines that go up to here, from our edge. It's such a minute distance that the plasma stream travel is actually going to flow right into this arc. So we'll go create geometry line. Boom, boom. Okay, so we can do it this way, or we can find a better way if you want to make 5 points of contact and or create a circle and trim that in half. Either way, you'll use a lot of these 2D CAD options in order to create these cutouts. So what I'm going to do is go to Edit, Copy. We're just going to copy this. I'm going to have to trim this to this. Should all be one Use this as a base point and just apply it to each of the points that we have here. Now, once we do that, we can assign these, because this is just blank geometry at this point, so we can go to actions and cut out. We have to actually assign these with an action, a cutting action. So this will be our plasma stream center. This will be, the kerf distance of the stream. So the red line indicates where the center of the plasma is going to fire. The black line is the edge of that plasma stream and where it will end up. So we'll go ahead and just apply that for each. I'm clicking on the outer line here so that that's indicating the start point of the cut. I don't believe it would change if I clicked here. Let me try it. Nope. Still lead in here, lead out there. So basically that's how I would go about doing this, simply because our software doesn't allow you to incorporate holes on bar right now, and even if they did, we only have a rotational offset from center, so you could it makes it really difficult to place a hole on the edge of the material. All things that we're working on here in development, but for now this is the way that I would go about doing it. As for gripping and supporting the material, obviously there's not going to be any rotating of the material, but when you nest this out, indicate a overall length of your material. For one, I would not exceed maybe 6 feet, just because of the bowing of the bar. As maybe the chuck's holding the rear of the bar, and then the gate's holding the front of the bar, but in the middle there may be some bowing. If you get the lifter station to hold it, then that works just fine, but let me think. When it comes to the points of contact from the chuck, you may need to fill in the spaces on the top and bottom of the bar so that you can have an entire grip around on 4 points of contact for the chuck teeth, since it's 2-inch by whatever the wall thickness is, or whatever the thickness is of this bar. So those are all things you'll have to consider when you're cutting it. Half the reason why we don't go around advertising bar. But once you indicate a stock length, you place your part on there, and then everything looks good. You would go to run the project and load the material and cut it out. I hope that's really helpful for you. Of course, if you run into any snags that you're concerned about, or you have any questions about this process, definitely give me a call, Brian, and I'll be able to assist you as best I can from here. Thank you.